Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I am the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ film festival. Michael Emery is an acting veteran of more than 20 years with roles in series such as Monk, Shameless, Blue Bloods, and Station 19. He got his start in soap operas such as the World Turns and Days of Our Lives. He is currently being seen in the psychological thriller Peter 58, and last year was seen in the thriller Birder, which was a very big success at Adult Film last year. Thank you, Michael, for talking to us today. Nice to meet you.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jim. Long time coming, man. Thank you so much.
I know we've been communicating on social media since last fall, so it's nice to actually talk to you. But just, I mean, tell us a little bit about getting into the industry and give us a sort of a cliff notes of your career.
Well, it's funny. I've been an athlete my whole life, playing football in high school and then playing in college at Monmouth University in New Jersey. And then from there, I kind of got bit by the bug when I was 19, 20 years old. Started taking some acting classes and saw auditions on Backstage magazine for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. So I took a stab at it and I went in and auditioned, did two monologues. Then they gave me a cold play to read, and I read
Okay.
that and got in. I got in, and that was like the first school that was on my list, and I got into it, which never really happened. So
Exactly.
um, yeah, so I went there for 2 years, and it was the best training I've ever gotten. And from there, I just was hustling to get auditions and agents and managers who would take me on. Anybody. Did a lot of student films, which is
Sure.
a great education, and then I fell into soaps, which was a blessing and was probably the most educational experience I've ever had on set. Learning how cameras work, learning to hit your mark, blocking, how to memorize and read a script, how to deconstruct a script, how to set up a character. It was a lot of great things I learned on soaps.
Exactly. You were telling me earlier you got your start in theater, did a little bit of theater. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I did a play called Halfway There. It was about five people in a halfway house, and we all had a different addiction. So my addiction was pills.
Okay.
So yeah, and then there was a woman who was abused by her father. There was a junkie there. There was a person who was um, like a heroin addiction. It was a really really heavy play, but we toured all around the whole pretty much East Coast and like Midwest area. We did shows in Kentucky and Florida and Ohio, and it was really really cool. And we were out of New York, um, all local, five actors from New York, and we just toured around in this old bus, and we would take turns driving, and we would set up a set and then take it down and then set it up again somewhere else. I mean, it was brutal, grueling, but it was incredible, and I'll be friends with those people for life.
Oh, that's good. Did you stop in Atlanta when you were doing that?
No, we didn't get to go to Atlanta.
Okay.
No, I wish we did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We went to South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida was the deepest we went south. And then, we came back up to New York, and then we made our way over to Ohio and Kentucky, then came
Gotcha.
back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about Burger. Burger was a big success when we showed it last year. And the
Hmm.
last time I talked to Nate, apparently the film is getting distribution, so it should be available, I guess, this spring or summer. Do you have any kind of update on when Burger will be available to be seen on a wider basis?
Yeah, yeah. I talked to Nate and Ami yesterday, and they said that it's going to be released in mid to late June.
Wow,
Um, and it's going to be North America and Optimal in France, which is incredible for on TLA,
that's great.
released on TLA, and also I don't know if you know, but they won the Berta won Best Picture for first feature at Melbourne Queer Film Festival. So that was a huge win for everybody, and I couldn't be prouder of Nate and Ami and the producer Chrissy and Brookshire and Charlotte Walters and Bobby. They're just it was a dream team, and yeah, I mean, I'll just go into it. I mean, it was just one of the best, most challenging experiences of my career so far, and God, I learned so much about myself and people, and just you know how people work and energies and respect for one another. And Nate ran a set, and Ami ran a set built on respect and love, and everyone was so professional and very comfortable with each other. And that's a testament to our intimacy coordinator. Um, we had Chelsea Pace, and we had Brooke Haney on set. Well, Brooke was there for pretty much every day. Chelsea was working from location and stuff like that. She wasn't there, but she was an integral part of the pre-production process with me. And yeah, God, I just love everybody. I would do anything for Nate and Ami. They're like family to me, and
Yeah,
they're the best. You know them. They're incredible people.
exactly. They're amazing people. For those who have not seen Birder, it is a thriller about a serial killer played by Michael Emery, who comes to a queer gay campground. And let's just say that, I mean, it's a lot goes on in the grocery murder, but just talk to me a little bit about getting into the psyche of your character's Christian, correct?
Yes, Christian Brooks. Mhm.
Tell me a little bit, just getting into the psyche of Christian and sort of I know that Nate said that there was, you worked together on sort of determining who he is, but you didn't want to completely give away all of them, but just sort of, you wanted there to be some ambiguity, but sort of talk about just getting into this character's shoes.
Yeah. Well, the best thing about this whole process is, even in the audition process, was they Nate and Ami really, well, Ami especially, because Ami was the voice behind the whole characters and the script and story, but they let me just make Christian who I felt comfortable with and who I wanted to be. They didn't like microscope like put microscopes and just make me do X, Y, and Z. It was a really freeing process of letting the actor be creative and just feeling out where Christian was in his life at certain times, especially before the story started
Yeah.
and leading up to, going to the campground, meeting the family at the beginning, and then going through the whole navigation process of manipulation and finding his way through and that whole maze that Christian goes through.
Mhm.
But it was such a freeing process because the boys let me do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that opened me up to any feedback or notes that they gave me, because I was just like a sponge. I wanted to be a sponge for this and just soak up the other actors I was working with energy and what they were giving me, and vice versa.
Birder has nudity in it, and it has some explicit sex. Was there any hesitation on your part before you took the role?
It's a good question. Uh, so I knew what I was getting into
Yeah.
before I even auditioned. I mean, there was, and Nate, Ami, and our intimacy coordinators were really specific on every single detail, like every minute detail. Like, we would go through every line in a script, and they would make sure, are you okay with this? Are you okay with this?
Mhm.
Uh, but I love being challenged as an artist. I want to be scared. If I'm not scared going into something, then it's probably not what I want to do. I like unique stories like this that haven't been told.
Sure.
And I just saw this character as someone who, I mean, I wrote a diary for Christian. His backstory, I filled up a whole diary, and I would send Nate and Ami pages. They probably got sick of me me texting them and stuff, but
Yeah.
like I had a whole diary, three-ring binder filled of notes, his backstory, his relationship with his father, um, not having a mother figure, his dad really being this horrible guy from Dallas who just cared about money and didn't know how to treat his family, and that really messes with a child, and my psyche. So going into the whole process of the story, I just kept that energy, and he really didn't know how to treat people, and he saw just bodies. He didn't see a soul. He didn't see Jim. He just saw a body. He saw an outline of someone. And how can I make you go left or right or
Mhm.
forward or back? Like, he was like the Joker, and he made people do what he wanted to do, and he was pretty successful at it, you know.
Exactly. As you mentioned, you know, this is a story I haven't seen before, and a lot of people who saw it say, "Well, I've not seen this before." But
Mhm.
having said that, as you all were working on this, did Nate and did you were there any inspirations or films you wanted to parallel or be like?
It's funny. Like, you know, Stranger by the Lake is it was a big one
I
I
was gonna,
watched.
I was gonna ask. Yeah,
Yeah.
it reminded me of Stranger by the Lake. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. It was really, really, really helpful to watch. Um, although our film is different than Stranger by the Lake, but I watched American Psycho,
Hmm.
just to prep for characters. Although my character's much more toned down than Christian Bale's character, but I mean he's an iconic actor, and just watching it was a good like elevation to see where he started and where I could just slip in. Um, but I watched those two films. I watched Heath Ledger's Joker performance in the Batman films. I watched that. Clockwork Orange, I watched too. I think I watched that about two or three times.
Yeah.
That was more on the level of Christian, I feel like, very subtle and very clean portrayal of the character, of manipulation, of sadistic mindset going into it. But I ultimately just saw Christian as someone who was
Yeah.
very hurt emotionally, very hurt mentally, an abused person who just wanted to love at the end of the day. I didn't see him as bad at all. I kind of felt for him, and bringing that emotion into him really allowed me to play more of like a sincerity almost. Like I felt bad for him because I just wanted to hug him and some at some points where he was just like he had those moments of like, God, I just wish I just could hold someone's hand or just sit down and talk to somebody about how I'm feeling, and that's kind of where I was mentally with him.
Yeah. What's it like? Have you had the chance to see the film with an audience yet?
No, I haven't. I have not watched. I haven't even seen it. I haven't even seen it yet. So I'm actually eager, just as eager as everyone else is to see the whole piece. Um, so I'm very excited to check it out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, when our audiences watched this last year, there was just, I mean, it's a very, it's very well done. It's also very disturbing. In our audience, I mean, there was a really good long Q&A after the film with Nate and a lot of the people there and a lot of questions on that. But
Yeah.
let's talk about another current project that this actually was released recently, Peter 58. Can you talk a little bit about that film?
Yeah, that was such a wonderful experience working with Kevin Spacey and Rebecca DeMornay and Jake Weber, Jet Gendro, who plays my wife in the film. She's the female lead and Kevin's the male lead. And I saw the film and I saw it at our premiere in Philly,
Yeah.
and I loved it. It was so, it's funny when you read a script and then you watch the film, it can be very different. I didn't when I was laughing so hard watching Peter 58 because when I was reading the script, it looked like a detective drama, like it's very noir, very film noir, a lot of flashbacks, um, and it was such a delight to watch it. And Kevin is I've been a fan of his for many many years, and working with him, learning from him, um, how his prep process is because I'm a big prepper.
Yeah.
So watching him prep, and he had a dance number in the film at a bar and he sings, and it's just watching him rehearse that, and uh was such a great experience to watch. And yeah, I'm really proud of the film, and it was great. It's still in theaters now, I believe, and it's having a good run. So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
Obviously, Kevin Spacey is returning, but also let's talk about Rebecca De Mornay, who I grew up, on Rebecca De Mornay movies. So I'm glad to see her get a big splashy role again. What was it like working with her?
Oh, she's amazing. She's so professional,
Hmm.
very very she's incredible because there was one scene I have with her in a bar along with Jet. So we're together, and um, Rebecca is so smart about movement and where she should be, where her character would actually be, and like asking really smart and intelligent questions,
Hmm.
stuff that I didn't even think about. because a simple movement of a shoulder or arm can release something in your body, and you can say a line differently. And yeah, just the way she was working really opened up my eyes to new techniques and stuff. And that's what being on set is the best school.
Yeah.
Best
That's
school in learning from those two titans of the screen, Kevin and Rebecca, and even Jake too. It's like watching them work can affect you as someone who is aspiring to get to that level, of course.
exactly. I was looking over all of your credits for the last 20 years and was reminded that and Shameless is a series that I watched a lot while it was on. But I mean, you had a role in there as Bruce, who is Harry Hamlin's boyfriend. Can you sort of talk about that experience working on that show?
Yeah. It's funny. I went to the audition, and there was a room filled with redheads. There was like 15 guys. They looked just like me. Like it was I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not gonna get this. This is gonna be the worst." So, like, and I was the first one to go in to read. So John Levy is casting. He's amazing. I love John. He brought me in, and I believe the showrunner was there and the two producers, and they were sitting on the couch staring at me. And I read the scene as written on paper. Then they said, drop the script, and we improv the second time. And they were laughing, and we were getting on really nice. And I was like, oh, that's great. I'm not gonna get this. And the 14 other guys came in after me. I left and went about my day. And that night I got the email that I booked the part, and it was incredible. But yeah, working on the show was great. I mean, you're not allowed to have scripts on set. I mean, you have to know your lines. You have to be prepped, prepared, ready to go. Um, and then working with Jeremy Allen White, who's exploded now for The Bear and Iron Claw. He's a great person. Very laid back and very quiet, but he's such a great professional. And Harry Hamlin was the sweetest guy. He was so kind. Um, he was like a buddy. Like we spent the whole day together, and he was just like it was just talking to like a buddy I grew up with next door. Just asking about life, food, uh, relationships, movies,
Yeah.
crazy stuff. It was just amazing. Such a down to earth person.
Exactly. That's great. So, the strike last year obviously had an effect on, you know,
Mm.
lots of people, festivals, but I mean, what was it like? I mean, I've looked on your IMDb, you have a lot of projects that are just finished or about to start, but what was it like during those strike months when you were kind of in limbo?
Yeah, it was tough because I missed your festival, unfortunately. I was on a job, but I still it was a fishy thing going on with SAG and going SAG members going to different festivals and stuff like that. And that was like right at the beginning, the peak of it. And it was a bummer, man. In all honesty, that 6 to 7 months of not working and auditioning and being able to be with your peers really hurt. It actually hurt worse than the pandemic because this was something that we were fighting over. It was a big debate. Actors had one view, some of us, most of us, and others had other views and stuff. And it was tough. It was tough, but I just always love to stay creative. I love to my hands, working on something. So even when I'm not working or doing stuff, I'm always writing. I'm always studying with a coach, reading, just constructing new ways to be a better artist. But I'm bummed that I missed out on film because that was like my number one festival to go to for Burger.
Thanks.
And
We missed you. We had a great Q&A, but we would have loved to have had you down here as well. So your
yeah.
IMDb literally lists 17 projects that are coming up. Now, obviously, some of those are in development, but can you sort of talk to me about some of the ones that you have finished or about to work on right now?
Yeah, well, I'm actually going to head up to Ithaca on Friday to work on a film. Um, and it's a dramatic romantic piece, a time period piece, which is one of my favorite things to do. I haven't had the opportunity to work on many of those, but I'm working on that. I'll be up there for a good while. And I'm working on a TV series. I can't tell you which one it is off air. I can,
Okay.
but it's sign an NDA. But I'm working on that in May. It's one of the most popular shows on Netflix. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm really excited about that.
That's great.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
I mean, do you have a preference right now for television or film, or how do those two compare?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm always going to say film because I have a chance to start a character from the embryo stages up until the end. I love creating characters from start to finish, showing a change in the character, going through obstacles and stuff. That's what I love. But there are shows on TV that I adore and would be honored to work on for sure. But I would always say film because I've always film got me turned on ever since I was a little kid to watch and got me into the business.
Yeah, got you. Peter 58 is currently in theaters right now. Birder is in festivals right now and will be out this summer, released by TLA. And Michael Emery has 17 other projects that will be coming your way at some point this year, next year, or the next 2 or 3 years. So a
I'll
very
keep you.
you are a very busy man. So thanks so much for taking time to talk to us. And congratulations on the success of Birder and everything else. Congratulations on Peter 58.
Oh, Jim, you're the best, man. Thank you so much, and it was an honor talking to you. Thank you.
Nice talking to you as well.
All right, take